This video is designed to give a brief overview or introduction to the Glaser system. First, what does Glaser stand for? Glaser is the Global Aid System for Evaluation and Reporting. Glaser was designed and launched in Q2 2007 as an online data warehouse for the Foundation to store and also access our PMTCT and Care and Treatment Program data. All program data is entered into Glaser at the end of each quarter by country staff. The data is then reviewed, cleaned, and validated by members of the SI&E team at the headquarters level. Data can also be accessed by any EGPAF employee by using the standard reports that are in Glaser. Now let's go ahead and log into the system and look at it for ourselves. To access Glaser, you'll go to http://glaser.petaids.org. To log in, you'll use your Windows ID and password. So it's the same username and password you use to log on to your EGPAF computer and email. Keep in mind that Glaser is only compatible with Internet Explorer. You'll hit enter or log in to access the system. Here, we'll see the Glaser main page. This is the first page that headquarters users see when they log into Glaser. You can see there are hyperlinks for each of the countries that the Foundation currently supports. You can also see, if you scroll down, that in the lower right-hand corner, we have quite a variety of reference documents here stored for your use. For example, indicator definitions documents, sample care and treatment and PMTCT reporting forms, an instruction manual on how to use Glaser, and guidance on how to run the standard reports in Glaser. These are here for your reference. Please feel free to click and download them if you have any questions. For now, we'll go ahead and click on the name of a country. As you'll notice, it's hyperlinked. When we click on the country, it'll take you to the country page in Glaser. Now, this is the page that country users first see when they log into Glaser. They just see the page for their country. Here we have some of the data that's stored in the country profile for Cameroon being displayed. Very basic information such as the country office address, the M&E officers, the technical advisor, and some of the funding source information and program areas funded by the Foundation in that country. This is just here for general use and reference. But what will really be of use to us here are two links, the Access Program Dashboard link and the Access Reports link. These are really the two reports that you'll need in Glaser, the two links that you'll need in Glaser if you aren't involved in actual data entry or review. Here we'll click on Access Program Dashboard. As the name would suggest, this link will take us to the program dashboard for Cameroon. It'll take a minute to load. We generally refer to the program dashboard as kind of the one-stop shop for data reporting. We'll wait a minute for it to load. Okay. Here you can see why we call it the one-stop shop for data reporting. Up at the top of the screen, we have the PMTCT and Care and Treatment submission and validation due dates for the quarter. We're currently in Q4 2010. Here, the site names are listed on the left, so these are all of the sites in Cameroon that the Foundation currently supports. You'll notice that each site name is hyperlinked. If we click on the hyperlink for a site, then it will take us to the profile for that site. I'm opening it in a new tab here for you to see, but you can also just click on the name of the site to see that site's profile. Here we have an example of a site profile. At the end of each quarter, the country M&E officers are required to create new profiles in Glaser for any sites that will be reporting to the Foundation for the first time that quarter. Each field that's marked with an asterisk is a required field in order to create and save the site profile. So here we have the site name. We can see that the site supports PMTCT but does not support care and treatment. We have the date that the site first reported PMTCT data to the foundation. We have some geographic information for the site, its region and district. We also have information on the site director and technical advisor, although this information is not required. We also have information on whether the site is in an urban or rural setting. If the site is in an urban setting, then we ask that users indicate whether it's in a capital city, other urban, or peri-urban setting. We can indicate whether the site is a public or private site, and whether the site is a peripheral, primary, secondary, or tertiary level site. We also have information about the funding mechanism for this site, that is the partner and the funding source through which we support this site. And we also have information if a site is unable to report data for a quarter, then we enter in an explanation for that here. Okay, so that's just a very brief overview of the site profile. Closing this, we'll go back to the program dashboard. And here you'll notice that we have a series of empty boxes next to each site. This is actually called the data status bar. You'll notice up at the top, we have 5 steps here: incomplete, complete, verified, submitted, and validated. These are the 5 steps of our data submission process in Glaser. As each site continues through the data submission process, these boxes will fill with green to indicate the step of the process that the site is in. So you can see that in this particular quarter, Cameroon has not yet begun the data submission process, meaning they have not uploaded data into Glaser yet. When a user first enters data into Glaser, the data will start at the incomplete status. Then the user will review the data, and the system will run a series of hard checks in Glaser. These are checks that are designed to look for any gross data entry errors. For example, if text is entered in a numeric field, then that would trigger a hard check in Glaser that the user would have to correct before saving the data and moving it to the completed status. And once the data is at the completed status, an additional second set of data quality checks are run automatically in Glaser. These are called soft checks. These indicators, these checks are designed more to look for things that might be data entry errors, but also might have a programmatic explanation. In other words, they're triggered when we see something unexpected or unusual in the data. For example, a soft check might be triggered if a user to report that in a site for a given quarter, 10 women were tested for HIV, but 15 women received their test results for HIV. This is something that's unusual or unexpected, so the soft check is triggered. However, there might be an explanation for why the data is that way. For example, it might have been that 5 women who had been tested in the previous quarter didn't receive their test results until this quarter. When soft checks are triggered in Glaser, the user is able to see why the check was triggered and able to see the data for the 2 indicators that caused the the soft check to be triggered. But they do not have to change or correct the data in order to save it. They can simply enter an explanation for the soft check and continue saving the data and moving it to the verified status. Here the user will again review the data before they submit it. Now, these first 4 steps of the data submission process are conducted by the country office, that is, by M&E officers in the country office. They're responsible for entering the data, uploading it, going through the hard and soft checks, and finally submitting the data. Now, once the data is submitted, it's in the hands of the M&E backstop here on the SI&E team at headquarters. The SI&E team and the M&E backstop will review the data thoroughly. They'll run a series of what we call validation queries, coming up with a list of questions, comparing data for each indicator for past quarters, looking for any significant increases or decreases in data, anything unusual. They'll send this list of queries back to the country office for them to respond to. Now, some back and forth might go on here, and the country office might need to correct data. However, once both the country office and the M&E backstop in headquarters both feel confident that the data is clean and final, then the M&E backstop will then validate the data, moving it to the final stage. Now, once the data is validated, it's considered to be final, clean, and ready for external dissemination. Now here, now that we've had a brief overview of the data submission and validation process, we can also show you the PMTCT data entry screen. Again, this is the data status bar. It's empty right now because the site has not begun the data entry process. We can click anywhere on this bar, and it will take us to the PMTCT data entry screen, where we can see all of the PMTCT indicators that are on the EGPAF reporting form. Keep in mind we have a separate reporting form for PMTCT and a separate reporting form for care and treatment. What we're looking at here is the data entry screen for PMTCT. It's the online version of our reporting form. Users are able to enter data here, should they choose. However, most country M&E officers actually choose to upload their data into Glaser by using our offline Excel reporting form. They easily download the offline reporting form from Glaser, populate it, fill it in Excel, and then upload the form back into Glaser. Here you can see on the PMTCT data entry screen, we have a section for ANC, counseling and testing, distribution of prophylaxis. We have boxes throughout the screen where users can enter notes or explanations for the data. There's sections on labor and delivery, counseling and testing, distribution of prophylaxis. A section on follow-up of exposed infants, expanded ART services, and additional services, including testing of non-pregnant women, male partners, other children, etc. Okay, going back, we can go back to the program dashboard. And I think that this pretty sufficiently provides a very brief overview of Glaser, what it's used for, and also a very basic understanding of the data submission and validation process in Glaser. To understand more about the standard reports and how you can use Glaser to access data through those standard reports, please see the instructional video